What's up everybody and welcome to the channel. In today's video we're going to take a look at the 2025 Honda Accord EXL versus the 2025 Toyota Camry SE. Now these are direct competitors, they're both hybrids. We're looking at $36,500 on this specific Accord and about $33,000 on this specific Camry. However, when you look at the pricing of the new Camry and the new Accords, they line up in all the different trim levels. So these are really comparable hybrid sedans. With that said, let's get right into it, see which one is better. Comment below, which car are you going to take for your family hybrid midsize sedan? Moving on to the powertrains with both of these hybrid midsize sedans, you're going to get a 2.5 liter inline 4-cylinder on the Toyota Camry with net horsepower at 225. The engine has 163 pound-feet of torque. This is front-wheel drive with an eCVT transmission. Curb weight is 3,600 pounds. It has a 13-gallon fuel tank, and you're looking at 48 miles per gallon in the city with 47 out on the highway. Moving over to the Honda Accord Hybrid, this one has a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder. Net horsepower is 204. Then the engine itself has 134 pound-feet of torque. We get front-wheel drive and a CVT transmission, 12.8-gallon fuel tank. Curb weight is around 3,500 pounds, and this will do 51 mpg in the city with 44 out on the highway. Moving on to the exterior styling with the Accord and Camry, purely subjective of course, but you're going to get a really sporty looking design for the Toyota. I love the front bumper, all the aggressive lines throughout it, nice front splitter, huge grille. Personally, I think this looks a lot better. It looks really nice. The Honda Accord is extremely conservative, a little on the boring side, not gonna lie. It's a very simplistic appearance. Comment below, what do you guys think? What do you like better? I definitely like the look of the Camry, especially with the blacked out wheels. But this is also cheaper, which is impressive to see. The cheaper car looks a lot sportier. You have sharp body lines, nice side profile, and then in back you had a nice design for the taillights with some halogen bulbs. You got a little bit of plastic material throughout it. Nice design in back, and then moving to the Honda Accord, a little bit more modern design on the taillights with the massive bar, and then the roofline slopes into that trunk with the glass. So more of a sportback design on the Accord versus a typical sedan on the Toyota. Side profile, once again, much more simple, not as aggressive and bold. However, you do have gloss black plastic painted items throughout the lower side versus just plastic. So again, my vote is the Camry. I think it looks a lot sportier. The Honda is a bit simple for my taste. Moving on to the Toyota Camry's interior, you got a nice black leather wrapped steering wheel, pretty good size multimedia screen. There is a larger one available. We'll have full screen navigation once you set up the car. Of course, all your simple things that you're going to be used to in the modern Toyotas. Nothing really all too fancy. Toyota screen is really simple overall. For the backup camera, you have a pretty good view, just a backup camera on this one with 2 different angles. And then I do like the gloss black trim throughout it. I like the extra texture you're gonna get on the dashboard. And then you do have physical climate controls, air vents, plugs, chargers, and storage all throughout the center. You have an EV mode, different drive modes as well. And then on the door panel, once again, you have that cool fabric material and then all soft touch as well. These seats are really sporty with the white contrast. You can see the fabric up above. So really cool looking right there, nice padded armrest. Gauge cluster, fully digital with a pretty good display. And then you can scroll left and right and go through all sorts of different settings. So overall, I think the screens in this car are pretty simple. However, they get the job done. It's a sporty interior. There is some plastic material, but it's all soft touch, so really can't complain. And just the way it looks, not a bad option. We have a simple basic mirror on this one, all manual, dome lights. You got some storage up above. No sunroof on this specific spec, but not a bad look all around. And then moving on to the Honda Accord now, pretty good overall interior for this specific spec. You can take a look at the larger screen now. We do have power flow you're able to monitor in here, as you can see. And then nice designs for the tiles, touchscreen icons on the left side for shortcuts, even more things that will pop up over here. So this screen definitely is a bit more intuitive, I would say, with a lot more features going on. Even with this larger screen in the Toyota, the Honda screen definitely has a lot more information. This one, we have our parking sensors, a few different views as well. This volume icon is in an awkward place, not a biggest fan of that. Underneath all that, we still are gonna get physical climate controls, which is a great touch. I like the design of this mesh. There's still a lot of plastics in here, but once again, everything is soft touch. You have a nice design for everything down below. You can see storage, wireless charging, storage down below here, the EV mode, drive modes as well, just like in the Camry. And then a little bit more simple interior with just all black. However, I will say this does feel a bit more premium on the interior. You have a sunroof on this model, storage up above like we had in the Camry, a little bit nicer auto dimming mirror in here. And then for the gauge cluster, still get a nice full LCD screen, and then you can configure a few things throughout this right side. So you're gonna get all sorts of information, a little bit more simple, I would say, for this gauge cluster. But overall, I think I do like the interior on the Accord a bit better. I think it feels a little bit more grown up and less cluttered. Similar use of materials throughout it and nicer screens on this. So now hopping into the back seat, we are in the 2025 Toyota Camry. So I am 5'11", sitting with the driver's seat at my height. I do have pretty good knee room, a couple inches, same with foot room. This seat doesn't quite go all the way up to my leg, so it's not really supporting that part. Seat itself is comfortable, there's good padding. Headrest is in a good place. Plenty of headroom, I'm not touching anything on the ceiling. Nice large window, good armrest on the left, and in the center you're gonna get armrests and cup holders. There are climate vents. We have vents back here, 2 different USB plugs, dome lights in the ceiling with grab handles, fixed headrests in here. Overall, it's a pretty comfortable seat. The seat does not recline. It is a little on the straight up side. Basically just perfect posture is what you feel like sitting here. Wouldn't mind it reclining more, and I wouldn't mind the base being a little longer, but overall, not too bad. Now on to the Honda Accord. So sitting in here, my hair, when I go all the way back, is touching the headliner a little bit, but with it nice and straight up, almost touching. So slightly less headroom in here. A lot more legroom, I would say. I mean, we got maybe 3 times the legroom in here. So it feels a lot more open in here. Pretty similar feeling with the extra window back here versus just the larger window on the Toyota. You're still gonna get plugs as well as air vents, and we have cup holders and armrest in the center. This seat is reclined a little bit more, which is probably why my head is barely touching the ceiling. It's a toss-up, I would say. I'm more comfortable in the Honda Accord. I think the base of this seat is a little better. It's actually touching the back of my leg better. So I'm getting better leg support in here, better recline. I feel like I could lounge in here a little bit longer. I feel just a slightly bit cramped in the Toyota. Still good, but this is definitely a little bit bigger. Moving on now to trunk cargo space. You have about 17 cubic feet of space in the Honda Accord's trunk. This is really large. As you can tell, there is a ton of space, super low load floor. I mean, this is a big trunk. Opening this up, underneath the floor, you have hidden storage and no spare tire. We just have an inflator kit. And then with the seats folded down, you have a huge opening into the passenger area. So certainly a huge trunk, lots of space. You can fit big items. You do have these hooks, which will always be here, which could bump some things, but nonetheless, this is really, really practical for cargo. The Toyota Camry is smaller. This is about 15 cubic feet of space in the trunk. As you can tell, it noticeably doesn't look as deep. So still a nice wide area, but definitely not as deep. Now, underneath the floor, when you lift all that up, you have a spare tire in here with all the equipment necessary. With the seats folded down, that opening is not as large either. However, you don't have those clips in the way, which is kind of nice. But definitely a little bit smaller cabin, as you can tell, for cargo as well as people. So we're gonna set off first in the Toyota Camry. Been a little while since I've driven one. However, I filmed quite a few. If you wanna see the full detailed reviews on new Camrys or Accords, check out the links in the description. So right now we're in normal mode. I believe we're still in EV mode. This is super smooth going 35. I don't think the engine is on. It is that quiet and smooth. So that hybrid system definitely feels pretty nice. Seat comfort's pretty good. Definitely a little on the hard side, but I mean, I'm used to that, so it feels nice to me. Feel very comfortable. The armrests are in a great place. Headrest is nice. This is comfortable. I'm really comfortable sitting here. Great view around. Very quiet. I think the engine just now turned on. So far the hybrid integration is incredibly quiet. So let's go to sport mode and get up to speed a little bit and feel this out. A little bit of tire spin. Zippy though, that is 45 without really thinking. I mean, this has a lot of power, a good size engine too, with plenty of instant torque from the EV system. It's got some power. Obviously these aren't race cars, but you know, for getting up to speed, merging with high-speed traffic on the highway, this seems like it is gonna do the job. Accelerating from 40, yeah, half throttle, this thing is heavy. So no shortage of power in this car. It feels really, really nice. If I go to eco mode now, we'll just tone it down. The suspension, I mean, I can feel the bumps for sure. I don't hear any road noise though. It's really quiet. That is something I'm really liking. Steering feel feels pretty good as well. There's a good weight to it to where you can, you know, kind of know what you're doing, give you a little bit of that feedback. Brakes work nicely. There are some paddle shifters. Let's see what they do in this car. So it looks like it's gonna kind of hold a higher rev if you use the paddles, which is a cool touch. Go back into normal mode. this road now, which is a little on the bumpy side, this is very quiet. Very, very quiet. All right, getting my bearings with the Camry. Definitely a nice car. I mean, it's smooth, it's comfortable. Really can't complain about it too much. It kind of does exactly what you want to do. Interior feeling is pretty good. It's maybe on the cluttered side, depending on what you think. I think it looks cool. I love these seats. They look awesome with the two-tone. This definitely looks like there's a lot going on. I think it looks cool though. There is a bigger screen available, of course, which is the exact same screen, just a little bigger, so nothing really different. Moving on now to the Honda Accord in normal mode. You definitely hear the engine a lot more. We're getting up to speed though. You got that nice instant EV power, which is quite nice to experience in both of these mid-size sedans. These seats are nice and comfortable. I would say pretty much the same as the Toyota, maybe just a little bit more soft, so just slightly better. Really good support. Armrests are all in a great place too. This car feels more open, I would say. I think with the Toyota having just a lot more contours to it, more depth to the interior, it makes this feel more open, makes the Toyota feel a little more closed off on the interior. Sport mode, let's go there and feel it out a little bit. Not as much wheel spin. So this gives you the fake engine sounds in sport mode, so it sounds a little cooler, which is a nice touch. And still just as quick. They feel both about the same. They're both going to give you realistically about the same MPG from a roll. Man, nice and sporty for sure. Either transmission, they both feel pretty much the same. And then overall ride quality in this, the bumps are absorbed nicely. I'd say they're about the same as far as the road noise and wind noise. You don't hear any wind noise in these. So it definitely is nice and quiet. Brakes all do a good job. For these paddle shifters, this is the regenerative braking. So a little bit different feeling in the Toyota. It's more of a limit. This is more of the opposite end of the spectrum, to where it'll make it a bit more aggressive on the regen. When you take your foot off the throttle, it will slow the car down. So if you go down a bit, it'll slow it down without me touching the brakes. So a little bit differently, the way they have set that up. Using the interior, this screen definitely has a lot more in it. I like it. I think it looks really good. Can't complain with that. This is definitely nicer than Toyota's by far. The climate controls are probably a little bit easier on here with the dials versus the toggles. I think that is a cool touch. Everything you feel in this car feels pretty nice. I would say a little bit nicer than the Toyota. You know, this material here on the Toyota feels like plastic. This is definitely a little softer. So this feels like a little bit more luxury focused, I would say, just a tad. I mean, neither one are luxury cars, but this just feels a little more open and a little bit nicer. But ride quality feels about the same. Power delivery feels about the same. Efficiency, pricing is all about the same. You might get a little bit more options in here, just specifically what we're looking at, price for price. But again, this does cost a little bit more comparing these exact vehicles. It's a real toss-up with driving, I would say. They drive about the same. So after driving in the 2025 Honda Accord and the 2025 Toyota Camry, what are my ending thoughts? How do these cars stack up? Clearly they are neck and neck direct competitors. Obviously the pricing and everything really lines up. By far, the Toyota Camry looks a heck of a lot better. It's a good looking car. The Honda is honestly a little bit boring. However, on the interiors, the Honda, there is a lot more space. It is noticeably a more roomy interior, trunk, back seats, and front seats than in the Toyota. I think the technology is a little bit better in the Honda. It feels like it's a little bit more modern, up to date. And then when you look at the Toyota though, I feel like it gives you a much smoother power delivery along with the hybrid integration. They're both really good. Obviously they are really, really close cars, but the hybrid system in the Toyota, you pretty much think you're in EV mode the whole time. It is really quiet, really seamless. You feel it and hear it in the Honda, not necessarily a bad thing, but it is definitely noticeably a bit smoother in the Toyota. You're gonna get a little bit more power in the Toyota as well. However, a little bit better efficiency over in the Honda. I think I would go Toyota just because it looks really good. The Honda's fine, it just doesn't really have any character to the exterior design. Needless to say though, it is a great car to drive. I really enjoyed being in it. That's probably the one I would rather be in on a very long cross-country trip because it's got the space and it's super comfortable with the little bit softer seating. But it's splitting hairs for sure. Comment below, which one would you pick? If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned for plenty more content. Big shout out to Flow Honda and Flow Toyota for providing these cars for today's video. Check out their websites linked below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.